All right, so the problem we're talking about is FizzBuzz. Uh, does anybody want to share like what they thought about the problem? What was easy? What was hard? What?
Um, I got tripped up like at the end because every time we do FizzBuzz, it's the console log.
Yep.
So they put it in an array, but they didn't make it very clear that it was supposed to be in an array. So then going back to make it an array was a thing that I had to then do.
Okay.
And then the string part
Ah.
tripped me up. Like at the end, like I got it, and then it was just like, no, it's got to be a string. So I had to go back and do that. And then when I changed it, I forgot to change my N to I because it's looping everything.
Okay. Yeah, I hear you. Cool. Makes sense. Brutus is string interpolation. What about it?
No, I had to use it to make sure that everything came out as a string. So, yeah. So I just put I using string interpolation.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. What else? Any other thoughts that people have? Did anybody get the bonus? I'm gonna say that it was a no then. The bonus was to do it without the modulo. All right. All right, so let's share the screen. However, that I just totally forgot how to use the computer for a second. Okay, and let's start looking at this. So I will say, Fowler, they do show that it's in an array here, right? On that return. So you always want to check in and make sure that you look at what the output should be. Because yeah, it's definitely a little different than what we're used to for sure. But they do show it as an array. Okay, so yeah, let's start in our area first and then we'll move over. So good clarifying questions is really like, right, if we're thinking about clarifying questions, we should be asking about inputs and outputs, asking about inputs and outputs, and make sure we really understand. Right, because we want to know, like, is this an array? Are the numbers actually supposed to be converted to strings? So we want to really know everything about that. We might want to ask if a negative number can show up, or if we should be protective of that, right? But for now, let's not worry about that too much. So as far as our plan, right, our plan will be to iterate. So we can say we can iterate from 1 to n and check for even divisibility. But there's an order we have to check, right? That's part of the trick. We have to check for the FizzBuzz, the 3 and 5, and then either one doesn't matter. Because if we're doing these if-else and else-if statements, we can't, we don't want to check if it's mod 5 and then move on, because that's going to be, because then we won't be able to see if it's mod 5 and mod 3. So first check 5 and 3, and then we'll then check 5, then 3, then string number, right? That's pretty much the logic there. So let's go for it. So we've got our output, which we can say is an array. And we're going to iterate from 1 to n. So for let I equal 1, well, I is less than or equal to n, I, whoops, what's going on with my hands? I plus plus, right? So we're starting at 1 because we don't have an interest with 0. And we're going to equal to n because we want to include n. I think we want to include n at least, but we can check. 15, yeah, so they are including n. Okay, so let's go ahead and just do our check. So we'll say, hey, if I modulo 5 is equal to 0, and I modulo 3 is equal to 0, then we just want to push FizzBuzz, right? And then we can do our else if I modulo 5 is equal to 0, then we're just pushing in, oh, well, then it's fizz. I'll do fizz first. I'll do 3 first because then it will read a little bit nicer. So we'll do output dot push fizz. And then we just, it's the same code again for 5. Oh, well, made a little mistake there, right? Got lazy. Output dot push, and we'll say buzz. Else, we have to convert this I into a string, right? So there's a few ways. What are some of the ways? How many ways can we think of as a class? I know we can at least think of one.
2 string.
2 string, yeah, okay. Output dot push, I dot to string. Sounds good. What's another way we could have done it?
An empty string plus the number plus I.
Empty string plus I, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. What's another way we could do it?
String interpolation.
Okay. So like something like, excellent. Okay. What's another way we could do it?
That's stringify.
What?
Stringify.
Like JSON.stringify or something? What do you,
Oh, no.
or do you mean like this? Is this what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Totally, Sion. Yeah. Can anybody think of any other ways? I think I'm out. All right. If not, we'll keep going. And then at the end, right, we just have to return our output. So let's give that a try. Go over here. First, we'll run our code. Looks like good, so we'll go ahead and submit it. We go, okay, not bad. It passes all of the tests. Any questions on this way?
Corey, I did it like the same way and it didn't work for the first input. I feel like I'm writing something wrong.
Sure. Do you want to share your screen and see if we can debug it as a class?
Yeah, I got it right here.
Question, does fizz have to come before buzz?
No. It does not.
You guys see the screen?
Yes. You're starting at I is equal to 0.
Oh, right. It's supposed to be 1. Right. Okay, cool.
All right. How about now? Does it pass the test?
It should pass the test now. Okay, we're good. All right, cool. I just wanted to, I was confused about that the whole time. I was like, I didn't know why it wasn't working. And
Yeah, because we only want to check from 1 to that number. That's
right.
all.
We're always going to be 1 behind if we start at 0. Whoa, and it's not actually going through. What?
Oh, okay. Let's keep looking at it.
Okay.
Capital B.
On FizzBuzz on here, right at the bottom. Yeah.
Good eye.
I'm sorry, the Zoom menu is like in the way. 1 second.
Well, we already. Yep. Okay.
Let's just make sure. Okay. Okay, cool.
Nice. All right. Very cool.
Thanks.
Good
Henry.
eye, Henry, with the caps. Okay, so let's try and think of how we could do this without using the modulo operator.
Hard coded.
Hard code it.
I'm joking.
Yeah, I don't know about hard coding it. That would be impossible because we don't know what the n is.
Maybe for 3 and 5 using like addition.
What did you say?
3 and 5 like using addition.
Yeah, right. There's something to that there where we could be using 3 and 5. So what if we, instead of having a for loop, how could we do it if we did something like we had let fizz equal to 0, let buzz is equal to 0, let I equal to 1, and we said while I is less than or equal to n. Okay, how could we take a minute here, think about how we could use something like this to our advantage.
You kind of increment fizz and buzz like at the same time. So whichever one is like the 3, like so if fizz equals 3, then you
Right.
like push it into the array and then you reset it to 0 and buzz, and then the only one I guess I don't know how to account for is the fizz buzz, but yeah, like once fizz equals 3, then you know it's a multiple of 3, and then you can just like push it in there.
Ah, very clever, Fowler. I think you're totally on the right track here, right? So we could increment our fizz, and we could increment our buzz, and then we could be doing our checks. If fizz is equal to 3, and buzz is equal to 5, then there's something we want to do, right? Then we can say output.push fizz buzz, and we can reset our variables like so. Then we can continue to do our other checks. So else if fizz is equal to 3, then we can go ahead and push our fizz and reset our fizz to 0.
Corey,
Else? Sorry?
I'm confused on the variables fizz and buzz and how you're comparing them to I. Like for example, line 642, like if fizz equals 3, why would it be if fizz, like, why are you looking at fizz and buzz, for example?
Because these are going to be moved, because this way we'll know if a number is divisible by 3 or by 5. Because here, let's finish writing this out and then let's walk through it, okay? And I think it will make a little bit more sense. So we'll say buzz, if buzz is equal to 5, if buzz is equal to 5, we'll push buzz. Else, then we need to push our I. So let's just say output.push. We'll say string at I for now. And then we still are returning our output. Let's check to make sure it works. And then we'll walk through it.
I think you forgot to increment the I.
I 100% did. Nice catch. Very good catch. Okay, so let's slide this in. See if it makes sense for us. Works here. And we got the wrong answer here. Interesting.
Oh, did we not do anything with FizzBuzz? Or oh no, we did that in the beginning. Okay, on line 14.
Did we forget to reset the 5? We did. Buzz equals 0. I should reset it here too. All right, let's submit our code again. Okay, great. Now it works. All right, so let's walk through it. We'll just start with a random, let's say 10, right? So our N is 10. Our F is 0, and our B is 0, right? Those represent our fizz and our buzz, okay? And we have our I, which is 1. So we say, okay, is I less than or equal to N? No. Well, yes, sorry, it 100% is. So fizz gets incremented by 1 and buzz gets incremented by 1. So now fizz is 1 and biz is 1. And so our first check is fizz equal to 3 and buzz equal to 5. So that's not the case. But if it were, it would mean we were on a number that's divisible by both of those. So we check if is fizz equal to 3? No, it's not. Is buzz equal to 5? No. So we're just going to go ahead and push in our I. So let's also have our output, which now has a 1 inside of it. I gets incremented by 1 to 2. So then fizz and buzz, so we're back up to the top here. Fizz plus 1, buzz plus 1. So these become 2 and 2. And we do our checks. Fizz equal to 3, no. Buzz equal to 5, no. Fizz equal to 3, no. Buzz equal to 5, no. So we're going to push in our I. I gets incremented, so that's now a 3. And we start the loop again. So fizz increments to 3. Buzz increments to 3. We check, is fizz equal to 3 and buzz equal to 5? No. Is fizz equal to 3? Yes. So fizz gets pushed into the array. Fizz gets reset to 0. And our I gets incremented by 1.
Oh, because mathematically you know that fizz and I are on the same level. So if they're the same number, you know that the ratio is going to be 1.
What do you mean by the ratio is going to be 1?
So like, okay, so first we started at 1 and then we incremented to 2. So then we start back at the beginning of the while loop and increment fizz and buzz to 2. So because we know the logic that 2 divided by 2 is going to equal 1. If they're on the same level, then that means it's divisible by each other. But if they're not the same, then they're not divisible.
Yeah, that's more or less it, right? Because now we're back into this loop. Our I is 4. Fizz gets incremented by 1. Biz gets incremented by 1. We're checking, are they both divisible? No. Fizz isn't 3, buzz isn't 5, so we're just going to go ahead and push our 4 in there. I gets incremented, so I is now 5. Fizz and buzz both get incremented, so fizz now is 2. Buzz now is 5. We're not going to hit our first if because fizz isn't equal to 3. And so eventually we see buzz is equal to 5. So we push in our buzz. Buzz gets reset to 0. I gets incremented to 6. and we continue. Does anybody need me to keep going through this example, or do we feel that we get it? Okay, great. So notice that I did walk through that. When you're done with your interviews, right, it's a good idea to walk through your code at the end and make sure it works. Run it just the way the computer does. Just like the set up some variables that you can update as you go line by line through the code. It will make your life easier.
Corey, I have another question for you.
Yes.
When we first had the error before we reset the buzz to 0, how did you see that? Like, how did you see, like, oh, did we not reset the buzz to 0? How did you see that? Like, what error gave you that?
Sure. So if we go back to where we were and we submit it, and that's a really good question. So we can see this was our output. This was our expected output. So I can see pretty clearly, because it's only 10 things, luckily, that there's only one thing that's different, and that's 10. Now 10 should be buzz, which means this should have hit our buzz equal to 5. And so if it didn't, but it did earlier, it probably means that I forgot to reset it so that I can recount up to 5. And that's how I knew to go like that.
Okay, because I was like, man, he saw that really quickly and I didn't see the error. So, okay, that helps. Okay.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm really glad you asked that one, actually. Yeah.
And for like the explanation of why it works, modulo determines the remainder. So if you were to do like 7 divided by 5 without doing like decimals, you have a remainder of 2. So that's what modulo determines. So like 10 modulo 8 is still going to be 2. So by using fizz and buzz, once you increment to 5, that means it is always going to be divisible by 5 because it's at 5. So it's not about like what's left, it's about how many remainders would be, and that determines how far away it is from being divisible again.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'd also encourage you all to check out, the discussion tabs on these now that we've solved some, because there's some pretty interesting answers in here. This is not the best answer, but it is golf, which is pretty cool. When you see things like this, they are using modulo, but they're not using really any traditional if-else, but they are using a ternary. So yeah, that's, but that's pretty cool. It's really short. Remember that the shortness of code does not mean that it is good code. The readability is what makes something good code. Can other people read it easily? But you see this person has a few, like this is less readable, I think. So I don't like that code as much as what we actually wrote. But
so I was able to do it a different way too.
Yeah, Doug, can you share your screen and talk us through it?
Yeah.
That's
I
awesome.
Just finished it.
Without mod or with mod? Or
without mod.
Is it a for loop with 3 variables?
Maybe.
Okay. Yeah, share it out. Sounds awesome.
So I'm looping through, and at every instance, fizz is going to be represented by that number divided by 3, and then I just take I parse into it. So for example, if it's 1, or if it's in this instance something that would work, if it's 3 divided by 3, it's going to be 1. If it's 3 divided by 5, it's going to be a decimal, so it's going to be 0. So then I'm checking, similar to you, if that number times whatever parse int, if it's equal to I, then it's going to be FizzBuzz.
Interesting.
And then if that number times 5, if it equals I, then it's gonna be buzz. Then and 3. So basically, if you have a remainder, then that number times the integer is not going to equal that number.
Right. Very interesting. Cool, Doug. P.S. You just for anybody who's looking at this code and copying it down really quick, we are forgetting to declare our variables on line 11 and 12.
Oh yeah.
And they should also be tabbed in 1. Besides that, it looks good. Because otherwise, he's creating a global variable that scope will be kind of wild. That's a really interesting answer. I've never seen that. You should totally throw that in the discussion tab because I've looked through that a bit. I don't think I've seen one like this. So that's pretty unique, Doug. That's cool. That is very cool.
Thanks.
Thank you for sharing that. Did anybody else have any other cool answers or things that are different that they want to share? Okay, then. Any other questions on FizzBuzz before we move on? All right, cool. Yeah. You never know that really can show up in an interview. I know. You're like, what? And they didn't ask me the modulo thing or anything either. That was just like, right, FizzBuzz. It was like,